This episode is brought to you by Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN. Now you can get all of ESPN in the new ESPN app, along with Disney Plus and Hulu with a limited time offer. The biggest sports, movies, and shows in one bundle, all for just $29.99 a month for 12 months. Visit Disney Plus Hulu ESPNBundle.com for details. Ad-supported plan auto-renews at regular price, currently $35.99 per month unless canceled. Ends January 5th, 2026. Terms apply.
What's up, Foot Clan? This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on PrizePicks. What do I love about it? How fun and simple the experience of playing the game is. Had a lot of fun this past preseason playing and picking players that I know I believe in. You know how I feel about Jameson Williams. You know how I feel about Tyler Warren. There are a lot of players you've got that good feeling on, and you can highlight them and pick them out on PrizePicks. Check out the max discounts on the app now, like Travis Kelce at 0.5 receiving yards for the September 14th game. Download the app today and use the code FOOTBALLERS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code FOOTBALLERS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast with your hosts, Kyle Borganoni and Matthew Betz.
Welcome back. Friday, September 12th here. Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined, as always, by Matthew. You just can't separate bets.
I mean, dude, if you're not watching the tape, if you're not grinding separation scores to figure out how to win in this fake football game we play, not trying hard enough. Oh man, dude, I know you have a lot of feelings about that, and they're well documented.
You just can't separate on the field, man. Then what are you gonna do?
Okay, so backstory on this for those that aren't aware: there's a lot of FUD on Keon Coleman in the separation metrics world out there after a great first week. Now, granted, yeah, like the tip drill was fluky, and the box score is inflated, and Buffalo had to come from behind in the fourth quarter, so it is inflated. But if you actually watch him play, I thought he played a pretty good game. I don't understand how the metrics work. I don't know how the grading works. I don't know how the film takes work. But I like fantasy points, and he scored a lot of fantasy points. So we're going to try to find some guys today that will do that for you in DFS. But man, I don't know, dude. I don't know if those things matter.
We brought this up before. We brought it up on, I think, the Dynasty podcast. I did a rant this summer about separation metrics, that they are fun. They are subjective, meaning depending on who's grading and depending on what you see, you kind of, you get something, whatever you want to be told based on the coverage. But at the end of the day, they don't really correlate very well with fantasy points and the things that matter. So the metrics that I show in the First Look article and the ones that we bring up on this podcast, we try to bring them up because they're the ones that matter more. So target share is as boring as it gets to a lot of people. It's a really good way to show how involved a player was, and it correlates pretty much just as good as any wide receiver metric. But there was some information recently about Keon Coleman that Betz and I have been joking about how, yeah, he scored those points, but he can't separate. And so Betz and I have been taking it a step further of just telling each other, like, hey, dude, my wife left me. Oh, why'd she leave you? Because Keon Coleman can't separate.
And to be fair, coming out of Florida State, like that was the knock on him, right? A lot of people were like, I don't know if he can really separate in the NFL. It turns out he can't, but he can score some fantasy points every once in a while. And what's so funny is we need to remember these games that we play. Like, I think Daniel Jones might fall on his face at some point this year. He was awesome for fantasy in week 1. There was several times back in the day, Blake Bortles was pretty awesome for fantasy. We know how that turned out. Like, this is a game we play. So, yeah, man, those things matter to some degree, but they don't matter a lot. I will also remind everyone, Gabe Davis in that offense had some incredible fantasy outings in hindsight, I'm not sure how good he actually is. So yeah, it's silly. But man, I'm excited about week 2. Can we talk about one thing with this week that I want to remind everybody about? This is the week to take advantage of. Last week we talked about playing it before you see it, right? With some of the rookies, like I played Tyler Warren, and you kind of want to take advantage of market overconfidence. This is the week last year where, if you remember the conversation entering week 2, dude, have you seen the GPS score on Marvin Harrison Jr.? You absolutely cannot play him in DFS. Have you seen the data? Kyler's not even looking his way, man. He doesn't care out there. Marv goes out in week 2, rips off a huge game. And don't get me wrong.
In like one quarter.
Don't get me wrong. Marv had a somewhat disappointing rookie year. I'm not saying he didn't. But in this game we play 1 week, the field and the market are reacting to 1 week of data and saying this is what's normal. This is the new what to expect moving forward. So I think this is a really, really awesome GPP slate to just take a step back and say, what is the field in terms of roster percentage and, the market saying that they might be overconfident in? We're going to give a couple of examples kind of as we go, but I do want to point that out. This is one of my favorite tournament slates of the year because we have a week of data, yet the field and like our projections think like, oh, this is just how it's always going to be forever moving forward, when obviously we know that's not the case.
Yes, no, that is a great point to bring up. And another way just to, if you're new to roster percentages or you're new to DFS, go look at your league's waiver wire transactions in your home league. If somebody picked up Harold Fannin Jr. or Juwan Johnson or Hollywood Brown, those are the guys in DFS that were like, oh man, look at their salaries. Look what they did in week 1. You can take advantage of that in tournaments. Now in cash, people can project really well at their price points. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, there is a lot of, what does this person think? And what do I think that they're thinking? And what do I know that they think I'm thinking?
Exactly.
That's where we're at right now in DFS. Yeah. By the way, my wife didn't leave me. She's still here.
For the record.
Even though Keon Coleman can't.
For the record, not divorced.
It's my new favorite bit, just to like, man, dude, I lost a lot of money in the stock market. What happened? Well, Keon Coleman can't separate.
I wish he could.
He's our new Marlon Mack.
I wish he could, man.
My portfolio would look a lot better if Keon Coleman could separate. So, good stuff there. If you want all of our picks, you can get them in the DFS Pass, dfspass.com, and you can use the promo code DFSPod. Betz mentioned it before, but we go all the way through the playoffs. So there's a chance for you this week, and this week alone, to not only pay for the DFS Pass, but pay for a lot of things in life. We celebrated with some people on Tuesday that had some good wins, and we know we're going to get some more of those. And I would say the best thing of the DFS Pass, beyond our articles and picks, is the Discord, where you get to be sharpened by other people. I was answering some questions this morning about the optimizer and roster percentages and how they work. And I think it's just helpful for people. You need somebody to talk this out, or you just assume, or you don't know how to play their game the right way. So any shout outs you want to give for the Discord, people?
Dude, I love Discord. Super fun. I always try to hop in whenever I have like a little break in the day just to see what people are talking about. And man, the DFS channel, it is like nonstop conversation all day, every day. So very fun in the summer. Like best ball channels, going off. Props right now is crazy too. So yeah, with your DFS Pass, you get access to all that. If you're, a Foot Clan member, or you purchase the DFS Pass, you're in there. So make sure you hook it up. I think it's a really valuable resource.
All right, we're going to jump straight in to some cash picks, if I can find the drop.
Straight cash, homie.
Last week, I made a mistake here where I was a bit dogmatic, saying Christian McCaffrey is going to be in my cash lineup. And yet, you and I recorded right before that injury news, and that was shaky. So I'm going to try to not say this is exactly what I'm going to do, because like I said earlier, this is about me like giving a little pump fake, a little hezzy, because I know some of you guys are taking my money in the head-to-head. So this is my little pump fake. By the way, Betz, I had a good jab step back in the day. I was a 3-and-D, wing on our team.
Okay.
Like I would say like people had to respect the outside game.
Yeah, I mean, you're sneaky athletic, Kyle. I've seen you play some pickleball.
I received that, but like my whole life, I never thought I was sneaky athletic. I always thought I was just athletic.
Maybe in this form of our life, that's when like you become sneaky athletic. Maybe, 10 years ago, you actually were.
But see, people expect you to be an athlete. You played, college sports, you work out and stuff like that. So people don't look at you and be like, oh, wow, you're athletic, right?
I mean, I hope they think that. I hope.
Okay, but what you're saying is, wow, Kyle, you totally can hold your own.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle, dude, this guy's out here grinding. You should see the whoop scores, man. Goodness.
Gosh, that was never, like, growing up, it was always like, man, I feel really good at most every sport. And now it's like I'm sneaky.
We all get there at one point, Kyle.
Different.
We all get there.
Okay, so let's talk about our cash picks, a pool of players on a Thursday when we're recording this that we feel pretty confident. And just remember, when you're making a cash lineup, you only have to be better than 50% of the field in double ups or in head-to-heads. So you have to mix and match here. We talked earlier in the week at quarterback that we have Lamar, we have Allen, we have Hurts, and Burrow all in the same slate. It's very different than last week where it was like pay up for Jaden Daniels or pay down. I think Lamar is still our favorite of the high price guys, but if you wanted to drop down, Justin Fields at 5.7, Drake May even further down are both the mobile guys in the 5K range that I think you need to circle. So I think all of those guys are there, but we have to have the conversation. We have in front of us one of DFS' greatest joys where we can play the Stone Men, Mac Daddy, Mac Jones at 4K. Are you tempted?
Man, the Niners, dude. They said stack them up in best ball, Kyle. They said it would be fun. Here we are. We're 1 week into the season.
1 week.
We're 1 week into the season, and the starting offensive lineup is going to be Mac Jones, CMC, Jake Tongas, whoever that is, maybe Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, and probably Kendrick Bourne and MBS. Like, it's bad, man. It's the boys. It's bad. I don't know if you saw the line movement. It opened -7 with a fully healthy team. It is all the way down to -3. For the Niners, the game total is dropping like crazy down to 40.5. It's one of the lowest on the slate. So the overall scoring expectation here, I think, is going to be pretty muted. That said, he's 4K, and we always preface this was saying, like, he's not an incredible play if he was 6K or 6.5, right? He's 4K. So what you're asking yourself is, do I need the salary savings for the rest of my lineup to work in cash? So if Mac Jones gets you, 12, 13, 14 points, the rest of your lineup goes off, it's probably fine. My concern with Mac Jones in this spot is I really want to play Christian McCaffrey, which we'll talk about in a second. And so I don't know if I want to go like all the way in on a team that's already limping into week 2 collectively. And if the field is going to play Lamar in head-to-heads or double-ups, there is a chance he goes for 25, 30 points, and those teams just steamroll you if Mac Jones falls on his face. So this is a unique slate where, like, I could see the argument for it, but I do think we still have enough decent value to go around that I don't think, like, you absolutely have to have it. So he's in my player pool. I wrote him up as a cash play because I do think it's in consideration. I just feel so strongly about the projection for Lamar at 7K that's my lean right now, is to pay up if I had the choice.
That is my lean as well. You might be saying to yourself, wait, why are you guys playing Mac Jones? It's just saying, what does he need to do? When Betz mentioned 12 points, that's 3xing on his salary. At a 4K salary, you get to 12 points, you're good to go, and hopefully Lamar doesn't go off. I think the main point is that there's enough savings at other spots this week. You don't have to do Mac Jones. Like, we've done this in the past when we rode with Aiden O'Connell at 4K or whoever else. Like, I always didn't go in the DTR streets when Dorian Thompson-Robinson was down there, but, like, that's the kind of stuff you're doing. At least we know Mac Jones, like, has the dog. Like, he actually, like, cares about, like, putting up good tape. Last year, he was a really fun player for the Jaguars. I think people don't realize, like, he had it.
Be a dog. We don't need no meows. We don't need no cats.
So I probably won't play him, though.
With that said, we're probably not going to play him. But like I said, play around lineup combinations. The other thing, too, is, like, we didn't really talk Drake May. If ever there's, like, a get-right spot for offenses this year, it seems like the Dolphins are going to be that. I thought Drake May in week 1 was fine. Obviously, like, kind of disappointing as far as a passer is concerned. Daniel Jones looked awesome, okay, against this defense. And they also lost another secondary member last week. So they're just, so beat up. And I think Drake May can have a really strong performance here. So if you did want to pay down, I just don't think you, like, need Mac Jones this week, though I do think he should make the conversation.
All right, running back, CMC is going to project as our best play. And he's probably going to be the most popular play in cash because, well, 31 touches last week. And then this week you go around and you go, well, I bet the game plan is the exact same thing against the Saints. So CMC is going to be probably our top projected play And then we have a bunch of dudes in the 6K range. So do you have a preference between Achane, Connor again, Chase Brown, same guys last week, but any preference so far?
So I did want to highlight two guys that I think the workload is incredibly safe on in that range. I think Achane and I think Chase Brown. Let's start with Chase Brown. The Bengals have one of the highest team totals on the slate, taking on the Jaguars. The game total is pretty high, so if you wanted to get access to a potential back and forth game, I think Chase Brown is interesting. No other running back on the Bengals, logged a rushing attempt. He was the only one. So he projects incredibly well for the workload. Going back to last year, when Zach Moss has been out of the lineup, here are his total opportunities by week. So this past week, 24. Going back to last year, 24, 21, 28, 22, 15, 29, 24, 32, all without Zach Moss. The workload is there, and this team total is there. So I think he is very, very much in play once again. As far as Devon Achane, obviously the box score was pretty disappointing. He had the touchdown to kind of save the day. But the workload as far as his snaps with Tua when the starters were him, kind of before they pulled the plug, he was getting everything. Now, I do think there's a lot of systemic risk with Achane. They are going to be without their right guard and right tackle. Both sides protecting Tua's blind side, not great. The Patriots were very good against the run last week. Only one sample size, one data point, but they were very good against Ashton Genty. So both guys are strong. Achane can catch 4, 5, 6, 7 passes sometimes in games, right? So you get that full PPR ceiling. I think the decision between those two is honestly incredibly tough this week. Do you have a lean between Achane and Chase Brown?
I think I lean Brown just because of the team's implied total. 52% of the team's total rush attempts and targets was the highest in the NFL. Like, they weren't farting around. It's what you were mentioning earlier. It's like, who cares about P. Ryan? I think I lean Brown right now, but I don't know, man. Miami is just a giant conversation of like, what are they? And like we said, they're probably not as bad as we thought. We'll see on there. But Connor's fine. Chuba Hubbard's fine this week too. Alvin Kamara, he only saw 4% of the targets, so that's kind of concerning, but 6,100, he's going to project well. I wanted to bring up Travis Etienne because he's 5,700. We saw what he did last week, and I feel very thankful that I played him in tournaments. And one of my calls last week was like, if you just play a Jaguars running back, I don't know which one it is. I'm going to be playing a couple of them. I luckily played Borg Etienne. You could get there. At 5,700, on the opposite side of Chase Brown, I feel like he's going to project well, and people will want to chase last week. So is he in the pool for you?
I think he is. The only tricky thing is like, and obviously Tank Bigsby is gone, so we think the projection is going to be there. We think the workload is going to be there. The only thing is that you want to be careful copying and pasting 1 week of data and just assuming like he's definitely the workhorse. I think he probably is, but I think there's some uncertainty. I think LaQuint Allen can come in on pass downs. I think there's a chance we could see an uptick for Baishal Tutin. I don't really know. So I think there's some fragility in the ETN projection, but I think the matchup is very good. The game environment is very good. My question is, do you want to play both Chase Brown and ETN in the same lineup?
Not in cash.
So that's another thing, just kind of like work through the decision tree. But yeah, you should make your player pool. If you want to pivot off of him in that same price point, if you're looking for that, it's gross, man. I honestly think Javonte is cash viable. Like, not a sentence I really thought I would say, 3 weeks ago before the season started. But man, he got everything last week. 15 carries, 3 targets. Miles Sanders, had the fumble, got caught from behind. They don't trust Jaden Blue yet. Like, he could touch the ball 16 to 20 times again. And the Giants were dead last in stuff rate last week. They got crushed on the ground against the Commanders. So I think Javonte is in play. As gross as it is, the projectable volume is definitely there. Dallas at home as a favorite.
At wide receiver, you're going to see a lot of lineups that have one of the Cincy wide receivers in them. I know that last week was really disappointing. Burrow didn't throw the wide receiver position a ton. I think it was 39% of the targets, but T. Higgins went down in price. Jamar Chase didn't change at all in salary. They're going to project really well at home. So can you play Chase Brown and a Bengals wide receiver in cash?
I think you can. I don't love it, to be honest. Like, we're going to talk about the game environment in a second as far as stacking.
So you don't hate it?
I don't hate it. I will say, like, I don't know how good of a coach Zach Taylor is as far as like a play caller.
Oh, I 100% agree with that.
Like, I'm pretty sure Joe Burrow is just kind of like dragging him along for the ride. As somebody who's totally on the outside looking in, I obviously don't know anything, but I don't know, man. Like every year they do this kind of weird thing, right? Where like in the start of the season, they like kind of mess around with the pass rate. They're a little more run heavy, and then like Joe Burrow's like, hold on, I got this, and they just let him cook. And in week 1, they actually were not very pass heavy at all. They were actually quite run heavy, which is shocking because there's like tape going around on Twitter of the Browns having 8 dudes in the box, and they still call a run play right up the gut with Chase Brown for 1 yard. It's like, I don't know, maybe don't do that. So I think we need to kind of get this team to throw more to kind of feel more confident in what's going on here. But I will say, for tournaments, I'm very interested. In cash, playing them both together does make me a little hesitant because I know Andy has made the Jaguars the almost upset of the week. And whenever that happens, I have little alarm bells go off. So I'm hesitant on playing 2 of them together.
Yeah, can I give you some numbers?
Please.
About Andy's almost upset. I have these since 2022. And we're not a betting sides and totals kind of show. Betz and I do not usually give that. But since 2022, he has made 47 picks on the show. So usually 1 per week. He's covered the spread 68% of the time on those picks.
I mean, I'm betting Jaguars plus 3.5.
Yeah, what's funny is that whenever Andy does that, immediately the first thing Jeremy, aka Al Borland, does on the main show is he bets it and posts a screenshot. But last year he's only at 56%. The year before, 80% cover rate.
Man's got a gift.
I know I don't know how it works either, but we'll see. So the Cincy wide receivers, I think you're going to see a lot of Puka, JSN at 6K. I think is going to be in the pool. Hollywood Brown at 5.2. It's going to show up a lot. We did get news as of this recording that Worthy was back at practice today. So we're going to wait on practice reports, see how that all shakes out this weekend. But Hollywood's in the pool. Chris Olave is always invited into the pool. 4.9. You have on here, you've tagged the FBI in our document.
Man, that is a cheap salary for a wide receiver who came off 13 targets a week ago. Now, yes, game script got to help that, but man, Olave, we love the talent. Kellen Moore did not mess around, right? There was some concerns like, does he bring the pass rate and the pace of play with him to this offense because it's Spencer Rattler after all? Can he actually do this? And Rattler was chucking, man, and they were playing fast. They were number 1 in neutral pace last week, so the pace is going to be there. I think the volume is going to be there for Olave. I do have concerns if you're playing on FanDuel and stuff like that, like how many touchdowns is this offense actually going to score? But in full PPR, 5, 6, 7 catches seems almost the expectation if he's going to see this kind of volume. So I like Olave quite a bit. Very, very cheap, sub 5K.
Yeah. And then a couple of FanDuel plays. Zay Flowers, 6.3. Tet McMillan is 5.7. Pretty good tags there. Let's go to tight end because I think people are going to punt this week. And by punt, they're going to play Juwan Johnson. They're going to play Harold Fannin. Tyler Warren's not really a punt because he's an absolute animal, just a complete beast.
Be a dog. We don't need no meows. We don't need no cats.
4.5. I think you're going to see a lot of Fannin, though. I think people are going to want to play what they saw last week. 3.1. Cash, that's fine. I think it's very easy to get leverage in tournaments. Trey McBride also is probably going to show up a lot in the cash pool. So it's a little different than last week where we told you to pay up or at least play Njoku. But any certain lean right now.
I think with the way I would prefer to build on this, with like wanting to get to Lamar, wanting to play CMC, wanting to play one of Chase Brown or like Achane, eventually you start to run out of money, right? So like you kind of have to punt somewhere, and the really cheap wide receivers below like 4,500 aren't incredible. So I prefer to save that money at tight ends. That's my lean. One advantage of playing Mac Jones is that you can get to Trey McBride if you really feel confident about that.
The second advantage is that you have Mac Jones on your team.
Yeah, and we know he's him. So that's one consideration, but my lean is to play up at quarterback and down at tight end.
Yeah, I'll probably end up paying down. I think Juwan, I won't play obviously Juwan and Olave in the same lineup. But I do like Juwan because he's essentially a slot wide receiver that plays tight end. That's what he was for this team. He ran the 5th most slot routes of any player in the NFL. Not tight end, player. And Betz mentioned it, the pace was up a ton. So I think he's really good play. At defense, my favorites so far are the ones you have in here. It's the Rams against Cam Ward, and it's the Saints against Mac Jones.
The Titans averaged 2.4 yards per play in Cam Ward's debut. It was not good. Also a coach, I'm not sure how actually smart he is.
He got that job because of 1, Joe Burrow, and 2, his dad, Bill.
Okay, well,
not the same guy as Bill, but Bill Callahan.
Got it. Yeah, Brian Callahan. And granted, he has a rookie making his first start in Denver. I understand why it went poorly. And he's had Will Levis. So, we need to give him a little grace, but, I want to see something kind of soon from this guy. Anyway, now you get a Rams pass rush that is top 3, top 4 in the league, top 5 at worst. They were really, really good last week against C.J. Stroud and a bad offensive line. The offensive line in Tennessee could be dealing with some issues here. Right tackle J.C. Latham looks questionable at best for this matchup. So Cam Ward could be down as right tackle against one of the best pass rushes in the league. I love the Rams. And then I will also throw out, if you're not playing Mac Jones, the Saints against Mac Jones for obvious reasons makes a lot of sense. I think that play gets even better if Jawan Jennings is ruled out. But I do want to point out, in cash, I'm totally fine playing McCaffrey against the Saints defense, where at 2,500, just give me 5 or 6 points and it's fine. In tournaments, I wouldn't play those two together, if that makes sense.
Yep. Nope, that makes sense. It wouldn't shock me if the Saints won that game.
No, not at all.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll move on.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
OnDeck is built to back small businesses like yours. Whether you're buying equipment, expanding your team, or bridging cash flow gaps, OnDeck's loans up to $250,000 help make it happen fast. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau and earning thousands of 5-star Trustpilot reviews, OnDeck delivers funding you can count on. Apply in minutes at OnDeck.com. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
Stack Attack.
I realize for a lot of people, that's a lot of guitar back to back to back to back.
It's good though. Sounds great.
A lot of Mike just shredding, and the people get to hear it. First game we're going to talk about today is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. This game was originally at 50.5. It's been bet down to 48.5. The Bengals are favored by 3.5. This was Andy's almost upset pick. So we have to factor that in the models. Right. The numbers, the vibes. There's also a fact that Keon Coleman can't separate. So what do we...
How does that affect Jaguars Bengals? Well, if you watch Keon Coleman...
That's why he's the new Marlon Mack. How does this affect Marlon Mack? I don't know. I think it's a great bit. So where do you want to start talking about this game?
Let's start on the Jaguars side. Because if you played Trevor Lawrence in cash like we did last week, it was frustrating. I think there's a way that this works for Trevor Lawrence. Now, I want to be clear. I'm a little worried that Travis Hunter is going to play a lot more corner than he did last week. He only played 6 or 7 snaps, I forget the number, on defense.
He made a tackle.
Did he?
Yeah, one
Go
tackle.
Travis.
He's credited.
I think there's a chance he plays a lot more on defense, which obviously makes the strength of Trevor Lawrence's skill group worse on offense because he's going to have to cover T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. That's a pretty big deal. But it does make the stacks ultra condensed. If Trevor Lawrence hits, it's going to Brian Thomas Jr. and probably Brenton Strange, who had really good usage last week. We just saw what the Browns tight ends did to this defense. So I do have interest in going right back to Lawrence, especially if the field's going to say, oh, he was the cash play last week. This week, you can't play him, right? He's going to definitely get lost in the shuffle with Drake May being the guy and maybe Mac Jones is a cheap option and everybody spending up for Lamar. So I do have interest in Trevor Lawrence stack just because the conversation on this team last week was they're in the cash pool, right? Brian Thomas Jr. was a kind of a cash consideration for people. This week, it's not like he's going to go completely overlooked, but I would say somewhere in the 12, 13-ish% on him seems right. That seems like an awesome spot to go to against this Bengals defense. So I like Trevor Lawrence stacks. I don't know if I'm just inviting pain over and over again playing Trevor Lawrence all these years, but projects well. It's a high game total. And like I said, I think the targets could just be ultra condensed.
I think the problem with Trevor Lawrence is we're still hoping that he breaks through based on somebody else. We're basing our entire argument on Liam Cohen.
And to be fair, Travis Etienne did steal the show last week.
What a jerk.
So who knows? But yeah, and I also think he's interesting leverage, or just the pass game in general is leverage off of Etienne for tournaments. So yeah, call me.
That.
What's the definition of crazy? Just doing the same thing over and over again. I guess that's me. I'll be doing that this week. And Brenton Strange too, right? 3,600. Like everybody's going to play Juwan, same price. Everybody's going to play Harold Fannin for a little cheaper. Like just makes sense, I think, for price point pivots.
I like this game, and I like overstacking it on the Bengals side. I think it'll still be popular. So it's really hard to figure out ways on the Bengals side. Like I will be gladly eating it in the chalk. I think the piece of this game that's not going to be played that much is Burrow because of the other quarterback options. Like people will stack it up, but Burrow's not going to carry as much roster percentage as we think in the past. So the way that you would do that is Burrow and overstack him, meaning you're going for not just Burrow and Chase, but Burrow, Chase, Higgins, and then even if you want to throw in a tight end or just like go all the way, you're saying that this Bengals team is going to actually figure things out. You brought up Zach Taylor earlier. Every single year they do this. They fart around in September, and then Joe Burrow goes like, can I just throw the ball? And like, let's stop. They used to do that with Joe Mixon, remember? Where they just like, let's run the ball 20 plus times Joe Mixon and just fart around. So is this one of those games where they just hit their implied total, it's 26, and they go for 35 points? And there are at least 3 Bengals you need in your lineup. I like Brian Thomas Jr. on the other side. I agree with that. So I think my early stance is to be overweight this week on Bengals stacks.
Yeah, just for context, right? The conversation all best ball season was like, well, the pass rate's going to be there because they were number 1 in pass rate over expectation last year. They were 18th in week 1 in that metric. So it's just weird, man. Let's hope that they go in there and change that. And I think, again, kind of like play it before you see it actually make that change makes a lot of sense to me. So I'll definitely have some Burrow exposure this week for sure.
I wrote up some of the like psychological takes that people have when they stack up a game. And let's say you're doing a Burrow double stack. You do Burrow, Chase, and Jamar because we said they're too cheap. If you avoid Chase Brown, who's going to be a chalky player, on the other side, you go, well, I'm not playing 2 running backs in the same game. I'm going to play Etienne as the running back on that because he was so good last week. The problem with that is Etienne's going to be fairly popular in tournaments based on what he did last week and 5,700. So I really like Brian Thomas. If you do want to do a Lawrence stack, it's Lawrence, Thomas, Strange, and then bring it back with like Chase or Brown.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay, so what's your Vegas take?
You think I'm going to fade the almost upset, which is, you told us is a lock, Kyle. So I'll take I'll take Jaguars plus 3.5.
I don't know about that line. I do think I would take the over now that it's at 48.5.
An overs guy, huh?
I'm approaching this as if it hits an over.
I like that take.
Okay, cool. Next game is NFC North battle, the Ben Johnson revenge game. Or really, is Dan Campbell really good at his job, or do you just have other good people around him? He's a good delegator. Is that really what he was in Detroit? Or should he be at Applebee's? Not a sponsor. Definitely never going to be a sponsor.
No, Applebee's can get out of here. Hot garbage. We love Chili's. The interesting thing about this game is that there's so many fun narratives, right? Like Ben Johnson versus his old team, and how much of it was him versus Dan Campbell, and all these things. DeAndre Swift revenge game, right? There's David Montgomery, revenge in his heart. We know that.
Everyone's pissed.
Everyone is. Truthfully, they actually are probably pretty pissed because both teams are 0-1.
That's right.
The Bears in primetime melted down, and the Lions got curb stomped by the Packers in week 1. So everybody is probably very upset at work this week. I think it's a really fun spot to go right back to the Lions, right? Like entering the season, they were a hot offense. We were excited about them, and they went on the road and laid an egg. But now you come home and you get a chance to kind of get this team in an environment that they feel comfortable in and go right back to them. The markets are on it. 26.5 implied team total, one of the highest on the slate. And I really like looking at some of the guys that didn't perform well last week relative to what we thought they could do. Amon-Ra St. Brown was my slate breaker, obviously fell on his face, but I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get 10 catches again, right? So like, what if those go to Amon-Ra? And then on FanDuel, Jameson Williams is 6,100, really good tag, especially for like how he scores his fantasy points against the Bears defense that I think is going to be like largely up and down this year. They also have some issues in the secondary as far as injuries go. So I like the Detroit side of this quite a bit. I think they go home and take care of business.
I was just thinking about the narrative. You said like everybody, is pissed on both these teams. Just thinking like in the workplace, like, man, it's just a toxic work environment this week.
Nobody's having fun.
Like,
dude, the break room has got to be just miserable.
Dude, even the accounting staff is just pissed in Detroit.
The social teams. I mean, I would not want to go in those buildings.
I'm just thinking of all these guys in the cubicle that like don't ever interact with the team. And they're just sitting there like, I'm grumpy this week because Dan Campbell told me to.
I do think, did you see his press conference? He got asked a question about their motion rate after the game, which it was lower in this spot compared to what Ben Johnson had done last year and the year before.
Pitiful.
He was not thrilled with whoever asked that question. So I do think like he rallies the boys and they take care of business.
Okay, that was me. I asked the question.
Of course it was.
I was like, dude, why what's up with your motion rate, man?
Kyle.
I should have asked him about Keon Coleman.
Why did you guys lose so bad to Detroit or to Green Bay? Well, turn on the Keon Coleman tape. You'll figure it out.
I love that stuff. Okay, in my matchup, in the Pace of Play article, I broke down how Detroit plays more man coverage than anybody else. Even with Aaron Glenn leaving, it's been man coverage. That's what they did last week. And Caleb historically has been the worst. And we're talking like John Ralphio, the worst against man coverage, dude. Like I know. And yet, he kind of grew up a little bit on Monday Night Football. Like he was a little bit better in spots against man coverage. Okay, 5 dropbacks, completed 4 passes. That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you the stats. It's my job. 5 dropbacks, 4 completions, 1 scramble. You tell me,
dude. Like the scripted first drive was awesome.
That's it. That's a great point.
After that, Caleb was horrendous. Like missed a ton of stuff, just inaccurate. I mean, I think Ben Johnson's like super frustrated. I mean, he only has 1 game with him, right? Like, let's give it time. But I think Ben's like, and you heard the broadcast talking about it. They talked about it in their pregame meeting, like completions, keep us on track. And he couldn't do that. I'm not saying Caleb will never be able to do that, but he's got so far to go to be like a legit NFL QB. That said, this is fantasy. They are big underdogs on the road against a team that historically invites you to throw. So I understand there's real life concerns with Caleb. I think he's a super interesting play in DFS. He's only 5,400, and Rome is cheap on DraftKings at 4,800. That's nice. DJ Moore's only 5,600, and these guys are not, as of now, as of our recording, being projected for a lot of roster percentage. So cheap double stack, bring it back with Amon-Ra or Gibbs on the other side or something. Looks like a really interesting way to attack this slate.
It's funny that you can analyze this team and Caleb, and I can give you so many bad stats about Caleb. I've been pretty anti-Caleb for the last year and a half. Bets of anybody else, you've heard me share the most negative Caleb-related propaganda for a while. And yet for fantasy, he can backdoor his way into being good. He did that against the Lions last year. People will cite that he was QB6 in both those games. One of those games was hot garbage. Yeah. He should not have been the QB6 on the week. So I think there is an opportunity if they get behind and if there's volume. Last week, they threw the ball on 71% of their first downs. Like, I'll give Ben Johnson credit. He let him rip. We know that Caleb can do that. So I kind of do like Caleb as like a gross, dirty, double stack, as you explained it with Gibbs. Like, I think if this is the game, let's just say it goes off, it's in a dome. You get 2 Lions pieces and you double stack Caleb in a large field. I mean, you could be sitting pretty. Now, you'll be super stressed the whole time. Don't look at the first half, but I could see it this week.
I think that's a really good take. And the other thing with Caleb that you saw that he did do very well was the scrambling, right? I mean, added the rushing score, picked up another chunk game with his legs. I kind of feel like this offense needs this. Like, they don't have the run game firepower right now to like set the tone. So I think they have to kind of live by that with Caleb and let him make plays. And it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be very up and down, but you know, we're playing for those tail end outcomes anyway. And this is one of the spots I was referencing at the start of the show where, like, entering the season, the sentiment around the Bears is like, oh, Ben Johnson's definitely going to fix this team. Caleb will definitely be good with him, all those things. And after one game, now everybody's like, dude. It's not going to happen with Caleb. I think he's a good play, man. I think he's a good play.
Yeah, on the Lions side, I would not use their stats from week 1 as any sort of indication. So they had a 66% pass rate. And like I was looking at last year, it's like, okay, when did they ever have a pass rate this high? Because they were, notoriously like a low pass rate over expectation. The only 2 games last year that they had a pass rate of 66% or higher was in their 2 losses. When they lost to Tampa Bay, lost to Buffalo. So it makes sense, right? If they're losing, you're going to see a lot of Jared Goff stuff. So I don't think we're approaching this game that way. Chicago was a run funnel defense last year. So I like the running backs in this spot. I do think Montgomery is an interesting wipeout pick on FanDuel. If you wanted to just play him, say he gets the touchdown or 2, because he's known to do that. Last year, 70% of David Montgomery carries was with the Lions leading or tied. In other words, if you think the game script is they take care of business on FanDuel, which is a touchdown-centric site, he makes sense. Any other plays on the Detroit side you're interested in?
Not really. I think Gibbs is a really good play. I think, like you said, Montgomery, particularly on FanDuel, only 6K is really interesting. I think on FanDuel, Jameson Williams, for how he scores with like big plays and not a ton of reception volume, is a really good play. But on DK specifically, Gibbs and Amon-Ra I have circled.
Okay. And how do you feel about that line, -6?
It's moving. It's moving in favor of the Lions. I think when it gets to 6 or 6.5, I would take the Bears.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know how I feel about the over/under.
How do you feel about that line?
A 6 and 6.5 is not fun, man.
It's a lot of points.
Yeah. I think I would right now take Bears +6.
I think I agree.
But I think the Lions can take care of business. All right, one more game before we give you some more stacks. Cleveland at Baltimore. The over/under is 45.5. Baltimore is 11.5 point home favorite. Their implied total's at 28.5. So highest on the slate. We really care about onslaught stacks. Onslaught meaning we're looking at the Ravens and say they're going to score 30 points. And if they score 30 points, we need 3-4 pieces. So the problem with this, I was looking at this game and I was like, okay, so Baltimore, man, they're going to score a lot of points. The Browns, dang it, the lowest implied total on the slate. So do I think this team can hang around Baltimore? And I think they can. I think they can do it. Joe Flacco, though, is one of those dudes where he could throw for 350 yards and we wouldn't bat an eye about it. He also could throw 4 picks.
Oh, certainly.
So where are you at?
Certainly.
Here?
I think you have to trust the team total a little bit, meaning like the scoring expectation as far as touchdowns is not high. So on FanDuel, I'm not super interested in the Browns. On DraftKings, where you're saying, okay, look, they get behind by 2 touchdowns and they just have to chuck the entire time, these pass catchers can get there without having to score a touchdown. If the targets happen to funnel to Jerry Jeudy or one of the tight ends or Tillman, and those guys can walk away with a 6-7 reception type of game and they hit the 100-yard bonus, that can work, especially at their salaries. So I have this game more as like a DK stack for me on the Browns side. You can play the Ravens any side, of course. But for me, that's kind of how I'm approaching the Browns as far as the game stack goes.
The most popular Brown is going to be Harold Fannin. And I don't think that's a great move. I like Harold Fannin as a prospect. Dynasty, we loved, surveying him. And at 3,100, I get it. I just think that in tournaments, I'm probably going to be underweight because I think there's a lot of other good receiving options. Like Cedric Tillman and Jerry Jeudy were right there with him in target percentage. And Tillman kind of has the skill set of being a physical presence. Same thing with Njoku. Like, as much as like Njoku's in the background because of what Fannin did, we didn't expect it. Like, Njoku could totally show up in a great way. I think what I like doing in this game is leaning into Baltimore, going overweight, and then saying, do I need a Browns bring back? And I think Tillman's my favorite, or Jeudy, and getting away from Fannin.
Yeah, this is one of those spots that it makes so much sense to say, how likely do we think this is to repeat? And the field seems very confident it will repeat with Harold Fannin. I don't know, man. Just last week, Jerry Jeudy was one of the most popular wide receiver plays on the slate. Nobody's going to play him now. Cedric Tillman, really cheap, 4,300, not going to get played that much. And David Njoku was the most popular tight end play on the slate in my small field. He came in at 50% rostered. Now, after 1 week of data, and again, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but just the field is so confident that, oh, you want Fan and you don't want Njoku. You want Fan and you don't want Jerry Jeudy. It's one game. Like, who knows, man? So I am willing to get off the Fan and chalk in tournaments. I think going right back to Njoku is interesting. And then the wide receivers, like I said, on DK, where they are low rostered and can just get reception volume in a negative game script, makes so much sense. So yeah, I'm with you on the Fan and chalk. I probably won't play it in tournaments, but like we said, different for cash. I think he's a rock solid cash play. It's just that I don't think there's a scenario really where he truly buries you, even at, this salary. So I will be fading Harold Fannin and hoping for the best.
Would you play Joe Flacco double stacked with a bring back of, let's say, Henry or Flowers? Flacco is 5K, by the way, which basically we're saying, can you get me 20 to 25 points?
I don't know, man. I don't think I'm going to play a Flacco stack. I think for me, it's like one-offs on a...
You don't want to live?
Dude, I've done the Flacco thing in the past, man. And it seems like whenever I play him, he has the blow-up games where, he throws 3 picks. So I don't know that I'm going to play him this week. I prefer in that price range Drake May by a lot. We talked about Caleb at 5,600, and I don't play usually more than like 4 or 5 tournament lineups, so I don't think he's going to make the cut for me personally. I think it's more of a Baltimore stack and then get a pass catcher on Cleveland.
Dude, I have a very distinct memory. I'm going to look up this game log right now. Okay, here it is. It is a Cleveland at Baltimore game. This is why this is so, in my head. It was a Cleveland at Baltimore game. It was week 5 of 2015, so the very early days of DFS.
Who could forget?
And I played a very dirty quarterback for the Browns named Josh McCown, who he threw for 457 and 2 that day. This is how DFS messes with you, is you see these outcomes. By the way, he had this crazy stretch where he was, anyway, 2015, Kyle was very excited about
back
this.
When you were athletic.
And it was, oh, dude, I mean, the 40 time was ridiculous. The problem is that you chase players like that because they're cheap and because you want volume. I mean, he threw the ball 51 times.
That is absurd.
So, which is very much in the Flacco realm, right?
For sure, yeah. What is his attempts line? Have you seen it in sportsbooks?
He threw 45 last week. We're about to bet something live.
We'll see. I'm going to try to find it here. See if it's up yet.
Okay. 37.5 is what I'm seeing.
Wow. Okay. I wouldn't bet it, but I could see the overhitting.
Okay. Last thing, what do you want to do with the King?
Well, if he's not going to get played in tournaments, I think he's a really good play. On FanDuel, I think we'll get clicked a little bit. It's just easier to fit over there. On DK, he's 8,200. I think he's RB1 in pricing, if I'm not mistaken. People are playing Lamar. I think it makes a lot of sense in leverage. Just, there's so many good running back plays that are a little cheaper. I don't think King Henry's roster percentage is going to get out of hand here.
Yeah, I'm seeing across different, like on our optimizer right now, he is at 9.3%. I've seen 8%. He's pretty much hovering under 10%. That could change over the next couple days, but if Derrick Henry is 10% or lower, I'll play him in tournaments. I might get burned sometimes, but you get these games, especially on DK, because people go, well, I'm not going to get the pass catching. And when you run for 200 yards, it doesn't matter.
And 3 scores.
Dude, what? I got buried in a home league, just completely KO'd by Henry, despite having, get this, okay? Travis Etienne, I started him in week 1. Tyler Warren, like an absolute baller. Garrett Wilson, who absolutely crushed. Baker Mayfield. I mean, I had an awesome team. I think I had top 5 at every position. I still lost because of Derrick freaking Henry.
I think it's so funny. Like, remember how last year we were like, well, switching teams, he's older. Like, are we concerned about the workload? And Mina Kimes had a tweet that was like, what's funny about King Henry is he's another year older, and like the nerds aren't even talking about his age anymore. Like, we've just accepted he's different, So yeah, sub 10%, that seems like an awesome play.
All right. And I would right now, I've seen this line get up to 12 or 12.5 some places, but I would take Cleveland with those points.
I would as well.
All right. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust. from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
OnDeck is built to back small businesses like yours. Whether you're buying equipment, expanding your team, or bridging cash flow gaps, OnDeck's loans up to $250,000 help make it happen fast. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau and earning thousands of 5-star Trustpilot reviews, OnDeck delivers funding you can count on. Apply in minutes at OnDeck.com. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
All right, before we get into our slate breakers this week, I did want us to mention a couple of other stacks. We only previewed 3 games right here. There's a lot in that 45-ish range on the main slate, which makes it kind of hard to figure out where to go. Historically, we've done the studies on this, but historically, if you find the right game in the 45 to 48 window, you can really get leverage on the field because everyone's not really looking at it. So last week, if you were on Colts stacks, and you just said, hey, I think Daniel Jones, Tyler Warren is a cheap stack. Like that got you ahead in tournaments. That really helped me, and I know Betz in his small field be able to get on that. So let's talk about a couple of quick stacks from other games that we are interested in, and you are going to tell us why Miami is great again.
All right, listen, guys. This takes a leap of faith, but hear me out. This is what I was talking about at the start of the show. We all entered the season kind of worried about Miami, right? Like the bottom could fall out. McDaniel could get fired, all these things. And what you saw in week 1 was now we know that's happening. Right? The field's saying, you cannot go back to Miami. You can't play these guys. And granted, I think there is an outcome that exists where these guys are terrible this week again. But in DFS tournaments, the roster percentage is not going to be there. Devon Achane will be somewhat popular. Tyreek Hill is 6,400. That's been a long time since he's been that cheap. Jalen Waddle's 5,400 and Tua is 5,300. These stacks I think have a low floor, but I think the ceiling is still there. And I'm going to find out in tournaments where this Patriots defense, like Geno looked incredible last week. He completed 4 passes of 20 plus yards down the field. If it wasn't for Josh Allen's Superman, act in the fourth quarter last week, Geno would have led the NFL in passing. So this looks like a spot to attack for the Dolphins pass game. And on the other side, the Dolphins secondary is so horrendous. So give me Drake May in this game. Give me the pass game on Miami in this game. I think this one is one of those that the ceiling is there, and I get the concerns, but both of these offenses were top 5 in pass rate over expectation. And when I think about the conversation on this team, if you remember, it was 2022, Kyle, week 2, we had said it was the Ravens and the Dolphins game.
Oh yeah.
And entering week 2, there was signals of like maybe this could actually pop off if these pass rates are sticky. And we weren't sure, and the roster percentage was low, and we said, let's play some stacks here and hope for the best. Now, granted, that was 3 years ago of Tyreek Hill, so he's very different now. But that game went bonkers, and I'm going to try to take that same approach here and just hope for the best. I get it. The Dolphins are scary, but the roster percentage is not going to be there, so I do have interest in stacks again.
Who would you bring back on the Patriots side?
I think on the Patriots side, Booty makes a lot of sense. Kayshon Boutte.
Booty makes
so much sense. Yeah. I'm just pulling up their salaries. He's 4,500. I think you could also play, if you wanted to wipe out like a tight end spot, Hunter Henry at 4K is fine. Yeah. I also think it's not going to project well. I think this is another one, like play it before you see it. I think Travion, after he was kind of popular on FanDuel, is interesting. They talked a lot about being frustrated with the running game this week and how it was wildly inefficient. Ramondre looked terrible last week. He did not do anything. So I think that this Travion role could grow faster than the market expects. So again, in optimizers, you're not going to get him because he doesn't project well because we haven't seen it, so we can't project it. But play it before you see it on Henderson and large field makes a lot of sense to me.
He was targeted on 35% of his routes this past week. He was not asked to pass block at all, which is kind of crazy considering how good he was at it. But I agree. I think they're all in play. And I also think what an opportunity to get Mike McDaniel super jealous in this game with Josh McDaniels getting to say, hey, I have a really fast running back that I'm going to show you how to use them. I know you really like that. So I agree. We can take all of the sentiment of, man, the vibes are bad in Miami. And in DFS, it's great because you don't have to feel the after effects unless you're losing a ton of money to say, hey, this is 1 week. right? Just 1 week to lose your money.
Unless you're losing a ton of money, it's fine.
Well, it's the best part where you can go, I tried this out for a week. Didn't work out.
Look, if they fall on their face again this week, we can stop doing the Dolphins thing.
The fool me once.
Right, exactly.
You know?
But I'm going to pay to find out what's real and what's not.
I wanted to bring up Buffalo and the Jets. Justin Fields was good as a passer. I wanted to highlight that, not just as like an athlete, but like as a passer, he was number 1 in completion percentage over expectation. He was awesome. The Jets offense, I'm not trying to say that they're going to be something, but I think Breece Hall is going to project really well. Like his role was very secure. Fields going to project well. Garrett Wilson's going to project really well. Like Garrett Wilson's in the cash conversation too. So like that core, I'm not really going anywhere else on the Jets side. And we know that Josh Allen can obviously do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. Keon Coleman, he plays. I don't know if you've heard. We're not sure if he's good, but he plays. It's just an interesting game that I think is off the radar because we think, oh, well, that's an AFC East battle. The Jets' defense was not good. The Bills gave up the most yards per play in the first week. So sneaky shootout potential. I just wanted to mention it there. If you wanted to do a skinny stack and bring it back with one, like I don't think you need to overstack that game, but like with the rushing upside of both those quarterbacks, you stack them up and then find some of the other side. Any interest there?
Yeah, I was just looking at what we have for Breece Hall as far as his roster percentage. He is not going to get clicked as far as what we're projecting right now on either site, seeing sub 5% on both sites. So his role was legit in week 1. Braylon Allen,
he'll be under 10%. Probably.
Yeah, Braylon Allen came in for a bit, but like entering the season, the concern was, is this going to be a 50-50? Like how much does Allen play? It was a lot of Breece Hall and he looked very good. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
All right, moving on.
Slate Breaker of the Week.
All righty, Betz. Last week we got to throw out a little sponsor here. And, I'm just going to throw out one right now that I've been, sipping on most days. It's this really nice lime bubbly.
Oh, you're a bubbly guy.
Sparkling water. Yeah, it's like a step up, I know, from like Kroger brand.
Oh, Kyle, what a flex.
What are you going with? What you seltzer man?
We actually are more of a store brand, so the business isn't booming like Kyle.
Really pros. It's like store brand is funny because it is very much like cheaper. We all agreed and mostly the same quality, but it's not like supporting small businesses. It's still giving it to the man.
Kyle, you know what? If I keep playing Dolphins and my kids keep eating as much as they are, I have no choice. Okay, so we got to go with store brand. So I'm not as all high and mighty as you over there. Business is booming for Kyle, apparently.
Yeah, bubbly is definitely not small business either. No. I gotta find a really, really small, man, great shout out right now.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
If you can get us a really cool craft seltzer water, what a promotion spot.
We're available. It's open.
All right, I'm going to give my slate breaker bets, and it's real simple. Is Derrick Henry going to be played by the field? What do you think?
Not enough.
Okay, that's my answer. Is that I think this is a potential game where he gets 25 carries. And they salt away the game. They did that at the very end of the last year. We had a huge game. I think it was week 17, week 18. And he went off. Obviously, he was really good on Sunday night. In the passing game, he's so good, dude.
He really is.
He's so good. I wish that yeah, he was targeted on 25% of his routes. Don't ask me how many routes he ran. It was 4. But still, cool stuff. Anyway, Derrick Henry is somebody that I'm always going to play in tournaments. When people look at him in the app, they're going to pass by. They go, okay, I don't want to pay up for that. I'll go to this other range. So I think he gets you leverage off of the cash plays. The cash plays we mentioned are CMC. We mentioned Chase Brown. We mentioned some of those other guys. So I think Henry is one of those great leverage plays that can break the slate.
I love it. I'm also going to go running back this week. This player was quite popular last week. It's not like he won't be played this week, but I think he'll be in that kind of secondary roster percentage range, maybe in like the 10 to 12 range. It's Jonathan Taylor. I know that the box score wasn't incredible. Daniel Jones scored some, rushing touchdowns near the goal line, and the game got out of hand, so you saw a lot of DJ Giddens. He played literally every snap in the first half, did Jonathan Taylor. So if this game stays close, with the Broncos. And yes, it's a bad matchup, so it's not going to be one that's a really comfortable click. I love playing Jonathan Taylor when the field is off of him because we know he can just erupt for huge games out of nowhere. And just a week ago, he was top 2, top 3 in roster percentage. This week, he's going to fall way down in the pecking order, and he's only 6,700 on DK. Very much in on Jonathan Taylor this week.
I love that little final pitch. It made it sound like for only 6,700, only 6 easy payments. That's exactly what I heard. So this is like the same level, like line of thinking we're having here is like, which running backs could get a huge workload that aren't being rostered enough, and yet we've seen them break the slate. Like JTT did that at the end of last year, right?
For sure.
And I think that was what I think he was a slate breaker last year and came through.
That's the fun part about these early part of the season slates where nobody's really on bye. You have so many good options to play. Yet, again, the group think people all condense around like the same plays. In the smaller slates where if you're playing like Thanksgiving or even like the 9-game main slates or 8-game main slates later in the year, like it's hard to talk yourself into these pivots. But right now, there's so many good options that a lot of these guys fall through the cracks. So I think that's our angle of attack on this slate.
Prop it like it's hot.
Every single week, we get to give you a prop here on the podcast, but all of them we get to send to our people that had the DFS pass in our Discord channel. So you get alerted literally right as we're taking these. So right before the podcast, I took mine, and the line has moved since then, which means I get to hit this drop.
Moving the lines.
Aaron Rodgers, quarterback for the Steelers, which I have to mention that stuff because all the time people go, man, I was searching my app for Jets or Packers or whatever. Plays for the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers under 21.5 completions. I wrote this up and it's on the website, but basically last week they put up 34 points. He got to 22 completions. The total this week doesn't look great, 39.5, and I expect the Steelers to take care of business and for Arthur Smith to basically run the ball 25 times so he can be happy. So, under 21.5 completions, Aaron Rodgers.
Man, it's so funny. Adam Schefter, when the CMC calf scare happened last week, somebody commented on Twitter. I will never log off, Kyle. Somebody commented and said, is this better for Jordan Mason or I forget the other running back? And it's like,
oh, yes.
I wish I could.
Oh, Elijah Mitchell.
Yes, that's what it was. I was like, man, I wish I could be this level of unplugged from NFL football sometimes. Like, imagine coming on and being like, who's the backup? Like, buddy, he's not even on the team. So yes, you should clarify who these players play for sometimes. I want to be careful with how I say this. I think Devon Achane under rushing yards is a good bet from a median perspective. Does not mean he's a bad DFS play, but I'm going to take under on Devon Achane 66.5 rushing yards because it's a high line. The right tackle and right guard are out. The pass rate was there for the Dolphins last week in neutral game scripts, and the Patriots were dominant last week against Ashton Genty and the Raiders rushing attack. So I will take Achane under 66.5 rushing yards.
So you're threading a needle here. You're saying is he gets to 66 rushing yards.
2 rushing scores.
2 rushing scores and then catches a ton in the passing game. So you need him in cash and you need him in tournaments.
Right. 5 catches, 48 yards, adds another score through the air.
That's a very Achane line, though. Like, way to do things. That's exactly how he does stuff. Last week, I forgot to mention that we went 2-0 on the pod. Jennings under, just because you decided to pick on a guy who hurt his arm.
I knew he would get hurt.
And you knew. Yeah, and I got the McBride under, which was not popular, I will be honest. When we gave that out in the Discord, there were some people that were not happy that we gave the under 6.5, and he crushed it by catching 6 balls.
That was sweaty.
Yeah, that was a little bit scary. But yeah, all of our props, you can get them dfspass.com. One more.
Well, if you take a look at this, I tented my pants.
For people that are new, what that means is that we have a survivor contest that every single week Betz and I give our pick at the end of the podcast. Last week it was Arizona. Totally made it through. No worries.
Not sweaty at all.
So we are surviving. This week, I feel like you have more confidence. I have confidence in this pick, but this is bet. So if it goes wrong, if it goes right, we both win. If it's wrong, it's your fault.
That's fine. We're backing Dan Campbell, man. We're taking the Lions. They're back home. You get
This is just money line.
Yes.
Way.
Just win. just win Detroit. They're back home. I love playing teams after we've seen them at their worst versus the opposite. Like Kyle wanted to play the Vikings, and I was like, man, I get it. The Falcons.
Because who do the Vikings
The Falcons
play?
are going to let you down, obviously. But the Vikings are coming off an emotional road win on short rest. So I was kind of worried about that. The Lions are coming off the worst performance they might have all season, quite frankly. The Bears coming off short rest. You get the, obviously, matchup with Ben Johnson, all those things. Like I said, I think the Lions take care of business at home. We just need them to win. Don't worry about the spread. We will take Detroit to stay alive.
All right, that's going to do it for us. If you want to play, you can go to ballersdfs.com, be a part of our DraftKings League. Fantasy Footballers DFS, Borg, and Betz. Sign us off, sir.
Well, everybody, it's unfortunate that Keon Coleman can't separate, but hopefully you can win some money this weekend with us. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Best of luck this weekend. Make sure you're in the DK League. Make sure you're in DFS Pass. We'll have updates for you guys this weekend. Good luck. Enjoy the football. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at thefantasyfootballers.com.
For a limited time at McDonald's, get a Big Mac Extra Value Meal for $8. That means 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, and medium fries, and a drink. We may need to change that jingle.
Prices and participation may vary.
Possibility means you have a chance.
Passion opens the door to all possibilities.
When I feel like anything's possible, I feel kind of giddy.
I want to be an astronaut, an artist, an actress.
To visit another country.
All I need is a backpack and a pair of shoes, and I'll find a way.
That I'm able to do anything I set my mind to.
I've never felt like more things are possible than right now.
In the right shoes, anything's possible.
DSW. Countless shoes at brag-worthy prices. Imagine the possibilities.